I know a lot of us have done their own enrollment. They know what bank verification number is all about. The rationale behind the introduction of BVN is to address the lack of unique identifier. Before now, you can go to Bank A, open an account with a different name, probably take a loan, go to Bank B, and take another loan there, go open. So it makes credit bureau job very difficult, because credit bureau, when you are taking a loan, the bank is supposed to do a check on you that you are a credit-worthy customer. You have not been defaulting. Because you have opened with different names, they may not be able to link you in one bank and the same you with a different name, different ID in another bank. But with BVN now, no matter the number of accounts you have in different banks, they can link you. It's a unique identifier. So advancement of credit will be better managed now because of this. Fraud will be reduced, because if a fraudster commits a fraud and is identified that this is a fraudster, we can now put a red flag on his BVN. This customer be him because he has done a fraud in so place. Because of that, fraudsters will find it difficult to continue in business. Another incident is that a fraudster can actually perpetrate a fraud in Bank A, but because of BB, he may not be able to until he has BBN. Before now, they open multiple accounts in different names. Once they have access to your login profile, PIN, card, password, and what have you, they can move money into different account and go and withdraw. But now they cannot do that. They cannot even open the account in multiple names. It has to be in one name and name easily identified. BBN timeline, in case you have issue, the CBN has issued a circular that if you enroll on BBN and you want to change because of whatever reason, the banks, we agreed with the banks that how long should it take for you to effect these changes. From the day you complete all the necessary documentation they ask you to submit, it's not supposed to take more than 5 working days. It's in our circular. The BVN reveals so many things. We have people that comes to claim that they used to answer Ezra Nicholas and now they want to change to Umar Abdullahi. What is the relationship? You can see that so many things were happening before the advent of BVN, but with BVN now, it's revealing a lot of things. Some people are using another person's certificate to get a job and be getting salary with that person's name. Meanwhile, they have another account in their own name. So BVN has actually revealed some of those things, and it's also being used by law enforcement agencies to fast-track investigation activities. The next initiatives the CBN has to do with check truncation system. This one is to increase the efficiency of our settlement of check, because you don't need to come and exchange physical, banks don't need to exchange physical instrument. It makes it cheaper for them. We don't need to pay to expend so much resources in managing multiple clearing houses. And for you, the clearing cycle has been reduced as a result of this initiative to T+1. If you deposit a check today, by end of tomorrow, after the last clearing session, you are supposed to get a credit into your account if the check is good for payment. If it's not good for payment, you will get the message back that this check is not good for payment. The next initiative that CBN run is mobile payment. The CBN issued a guideline that will guide the operation of all the mobile money operators. And 23 mobile money operators, some are banks, some are unbanked. have been licensed by CBN to issue mobile money services. Some of the services are, you can actually, once you subscribe, check your balance, you can pay for bills, you can transfer money into another person, whether that person has account or not, even if it's in the village, provided there is an agent in that village. If you make a transfer to that person, he can go to the agent and cash the money. So you can use mobile payment services for so many things. It happened to me, I went to do a shopping in a market, in a market in Abuja, not even a shopping mall. And I bought goods more than, the value of the good is more than the cash I was holding. And I wanted to remove some of the goods. I returned them back to the shop owner because I don't have cash. But I was surprised and I was impressed. The shop owner said, I collect transfer. You can do transfer. So I brought out my phone number, my phone, and do a transfer to him. Instantly he received the value and he gave me the good. Win-win situation for both of us. If he does not understand that, or he doesn't have confidence in the system, he will lose that sales. And I will lose what I wanted to buy, because I have to go and get money from the ATM and come back. You know, at least I will waste time. So it's an initiative of the central bank, and I urge all of us to embrace some of these electronic payment channels. They are safe, they are regulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The next one is the agent banking. Agent banking is the provision of banking services to unbank, where banks, because it's not financially feasible for them to go and open physical branches like rural areas, they can use agents like post office, like filling station, like shops to render some banking services. This one too is regulated by CBN. It is not the agent that get license from CBN. It is the bank that want to be rendering banking services through the agent that will obtain the CBN approval. Next is e-reference portal. When you want to open an account now, CBN has made it much, much faster. Before now, you have to go and get a reference letter, and the reference letter has to be confirmed by the bank that is opening the account, and that confirmation process used to be manual. With this e-reference portal, it is a portal where they can scan, a bank can scan your reference letter onto the portal. The other bank has only 3 working days to respond that this reference is actually good. The next one is authorized signatory verification portal. This is a portal that digitizes, that automate what used to be manual booklet of signatures of all the banks. It also helps in the increasing the efficiency of our payment system. The next initiative is Cashless Nigeria, or Cashless Initiative. As we are all aware, Cashless Initiative was implemented in Lagos and 5 additional states. The component of the Cashless Initiative says that individual can withdraw 500,000 naira and below without paying any service charge. If you are a corporate organization, you can only withdraw 3 million in those states where it is implemented without paying additional charges. So CBN did not say don't take your cash. You can take any amount you want, but you will pay processing charges. If you don't want to pay processing charges, you have to embrace electronic payments to do transfers above that limit. E-payment incentive schemes. Because merchants, customers, salesperson have been complaining that they used to get change. Salesperson will complain that he used to get a change if you buy with cash. Now that is with card, I don't get anything. There is an incentive provided for the salesperson. For customer, when you embrace or make payment using electronic cards, you are entitled to get some rewards. You will see some small credit coming into your account as an incentive. All these things are designed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to encourage members of the public to embrace electronic payment channels. Nigeria Electronic Fraud Forum, as we know, a lot of people express their fears that because everything is electronic, we are moving electronic now. Fraudsters, what is CBN doing? CBN has put a lot of measure to combat those fraudsters. One of the measure is this Nigeria Electronic Fraud Forum. As the fraudsters are meeting to attack us, our stakeholders, CBN, law enforcement agencies, bank, InterSwitch, and all of them, they have been meeting quarterly to share information about fraud and how to make the system much more secured. So that has been happening. New e-dividend payment. Instead of you waiting endlessly to get your dividend warrant, maybe you change address. Because of change address, you may not be able to get your dividend warrant. Or you get the dividend warrant, but the value is so small, it discourages you from going to bank to queue, deposit it. There is a new method now. You can just sign mandate on to go to your bank, give any of the bank, get any of your bank or registrar your mandate that you want to be collecting dividend electronically. Once you do that once, anytime dividend is paid, no matter how small or big, it will just enter your account. You will just receive alert, bam. The next one is Payment System Vision 2020. CBN has designed or developed a roadmap. Where do we want our payment system to be between now and 2020? So there are so many groups working on how to improve adoption of electronic payment system in health sector, in education, smart city, agri, all the sectors of the economy where today payment system adoption is low. They are looking at, is it because of infrastructure? Is it because of cost? What do we do the infrastructure better, to make network better, to make the services more efficient and the cheaper rate? So this is what Payment System Vision 2020 is all about. The main aim of Payment System Vision 2020 is to facilitate migration of our economy from being a cash-based economy to sophisticated, to a more sophisticated electronic payment economy. The next one is Treasury Single Account. Treasury Single Account is to help government oversee the management of their cash resources in an efficient and cost-effective way. Instead of having multiple accounts in different banks owned by one government, say federal government, but on behalf of different, or MDAs on behalf of federal government, they want to pull all the accounts into one with sub-accounts linked to that main treasury account, so that government can view at any point in time the cash resources available for them. That will help them better, that will facilitate better utilization of their own resources, save cost. Instead of maintaining multiple accounts at different costs, they can now save costs. Those accounts can be in central bank. Federal government has already adopted that their own TSA is centralized with central bank. But if you are a state that has not adopted a TSA, you have the choice to domicile the TSA account with central bank or domicile it in a commercial bank. It's allowed. The benefit next, foreign payment window. If you are an MDA that wants to do foreign payment transaction, before now you have to travel to Abuja to give your mandate for head office Abuja CVN to now effect your own requirement. But with this now, the branch, you can submit at any CVM branch. The CVM branch will check to ensure that all the necessary documents are in place and forward it to head office for treatment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Malam Hamis, for that wonderful presentation. Please, if you have any questions, kindly take note of the questions. We shall give you a chance to ask your questions by the end of all the presentations. So we'd like to call on NJ from DFD to make the next presentation. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I stand on existing protocols, and I'll particularly want to appreciate our esteemed customers for gracing this occasion. I'm representing the Development Finance Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria. We have interventions that we roll out to support the real sector, having been identified as the engine growth of the economy. So, for want of time, I cannot take us through all the slides. I'll just want to focus on MSMEs. But briefly, I'll just highlight the objectives of some of these interventions. Okay, we'll just talk briefly on this one. Now, the interventions are expected to give the economy some boost, some level of boost. But we start at the grassroots. Why? Because they have a rippling effect. We were informed of that earlier. You know, it has a rippling effect. So when we start with the firms and the individuals, what do we stand to achieve? Improved access to finance. We know that what hinders most firms and individuals from growing is lack of access to finance. And when this finance is available from the commercial banks, the rates may be exorbitant and may hurt the business rather than help the business. So the interventions are priced moderately, mostly single-digit interest rate, to enable beneficiaries be productive at the end of the day, still have some little profit in their pocket, and so on and so forth. It's going to improve productivity, job creation, grassroots development, and financial inclusion. And when that is done at the industry level, it boosts competition and innovation. The sectorial level, it promotes value chain development and market linkages. We were here earlier, we understand how nobody or no firm works in isolation. There are ripples of effect, chains of activities. Like in the agri sector, somebody asked a question on or made a comment on offtake of agricultural produce. So you don't, as farmers, you are not producing just to produce. You're producing to either consume or to sell. So there should be market linkages. There should be value chain. And there are other players in the value system, including insurance companies. They are aimed at, they aim at de-risking the system so that it also improves activities, even lending from commercial banks. Commercial banks do not like to lend because they are considered risky. But when insurance companies come into the chain and de-risk the system, lending should be improved. And a whole lot of benefits. Then the economy at large, inclusive growth, diversify the revenue base. We were here earlier, we listened to the presentation on that. Increase foreign exchange reserve, and entire economic growth. So these are the benefits. So we'll go through the focal sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, SMEs. Some select service sectors are also targeted. We have some interventions on agriculture, the ACGS, the CAGS, Commercial Agri Credit Scheme, Anchor Borrowers Program, and so on and so forth. But I would like to dwell a little more on MSME Development Fund. Yes. So now, having identified that MSMEs are very, very important for economic growth and development, the central bank rolled out this fund. There are some select services, and then artisans, cottage industry, agriculture. They are all part of the beneficiaries of MSME DF. And then we encourage women participation. We've all identified that women businesses, or let me say women borrowers, they have a way they contribute to the economic growth. Sorry, I know there are not many women here. I wish we had more women here. And then it doesn't mean that the men too, a lot of them also are productive and all of that. But we believe that women who originally before now were not ably represented, we encourage women to come up and participate in this MSME DF. So as a result of that, the 60% of the MSME DF is allocated to women They encourage that women associations maybe form an association, go through your participating financial institution and see how you can access this fund. In addition, the fund has the micro and SME component. We do this because we understand that some businesses are really at the lower level, that's the micro level. Now, you may need to grow your business out of that level, but you have to start somewhere. Start at a level you can manage. Start borrowing the funds you can manage. So as a result of that, I think 500,000 and below is for micro. That's the limit you can access. Then for SMEs, you can access up to 50 million. But you start somewhere, then you grow your business into a bigger one and access more funds. But there has to be a cycle. You borrow and pay back so that when you want again, you can access. Then for risk management purposes, collaterals may be required. It's something you can discuss with your financial institution. They are in a better position to assess your capability to pay back, how you can secure the loan. But we require things like third-party guarantee, then financial assets, and so on and so forth. We are trying to de-emphasize physical collateral that most of the traditional banks require. So that is for MSMEDF. And then we have development finance offices. For more information, you can meet any of our the staff of development finance offices in every of the CBN branch across the country. Now, for the fund, we require all the stakeholders to be able to keep to the rules of the engagement. There are rules. These funds are not free. They are given out to be paid back. The stakeholders, including the banks and the borrowers, they have their responsibilities. But I'll just emphasize little on the borrowers. If you tell us you want to use these funds for this purpose, we want you to use the funds for that purpose. So you borrow the money, use it for what you said you are using it for, because that reason that you gave us forms part of the assessment and want you to use it for that reason. And then also there is inspection. From time to time, CBN staff will want to go and inspect some of the selected beneficiaries. You have to open up yourself for inspection if you have accessed the funds. So there are still other interventions. We may not really go through them, but most, in a summary, in a nutshell, the single obligor limit applies to most of the interventions, except for, I think, okay, electricity market stabilization fund is not, maybe that one is 10%. There is another one, textile sector intervention fund, that's 4.5%. That's not an exception, but the others are 9%, and so on and so forth. So there are collateral requirements. I spoke about that earlier. We have financial assets, we have physical collaterals, we have ISPO, that's for state government, then certificates, and so on and so forth. Then I'll just quickly talk about how to access the interventions. Please go down. Okay. You approach your financial institution. For these interventions, we normally refer to them as participating financial institutions. They are deposit money banks, microfinance banks, finance companies, financial cooperatives, NGOs, and specialized DFIs. They will check your eligibility, whether you qualify, whether you have provided all that you're meant to provide, then apply. Submit all the documentation that will enable an appraisal. They will do first-hand appraisal at the level, the financial institution, sent to central bank. Central bank will still do its own appraisal. And once it's approved, disbursement will be made to the participating financial institution for onward disbursement. But like I said earlier, there will be monitoring, and we also expect repayment from the borrowers. In conclusion, the central bank will try and continue to promote economic development. But like I said earlier, it is important when you borrow, use it for what you said you use it for, and ensure repayment. That is when cycle is made, and that is when other beneficiaries can access it and encourage their businesses to grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam NG. Now I would like to invite Mr. Tijani Bala from Currency Operations Department to make the next presentation. Currency. Okay, sir. I've been directed to step down. Okay. Okay. Very much.
The Director of Branch Operations Department, branch controllers here present, CBN executives and staff here present, invited guests, good afternoon. The presentation I'm about to make is on the currency life cycle and currency management. As the name implies, currency. We all know Central Bank of Nigeria, in one of its mandates, it starts with the responsibility of the issuance of the currency, legal tender currency. So I want to take us through the currency life cycle, then some of the challenges that we face or we have, and the way forward. For currency cycle, it starts with design. By design, we mean how we want the currency or the banknote to look like. That entails the color, the security features, the size, and the texture, or what I mean by texture, the substrate that we want to use, either paper, polymer, or hybrid. But what we have currently in Nigeria is the combination. We have the paper and the polymer. So we did the design. We have the watermarks and the color. Then we now engaged a printing company. That's the second level, procurement. We engage the company that handles the production. This could be done locally by NSPM, which is the prime printer of our banknotes, or when necessary, we engage foreign printers. Then we have distribution. What we meant by distribution is after production, we take delivery into our vault. Then from our vault, we now distribute to other CBN locations. What I mean by our vault is either Lagos or Abuja. That's where the newly printed banknotes goes into first. Then from there, we distribute to other CBN locations. And CBN locations will now issue to Deposit Money Bank, who will now give out to their customers. From distribution, we now look at inventory. By inventory, we mean, as we issue out the banknotes, we expect the public to use them as means of transactions. So after a while, those members of the public make deposits of such notes into their accounts to their commercial banks. So This one is being handled under the inventory. Once such notes come back to us from the commercial banks, because as you deposit into your accounts, that's how deposit money banks too deposit into their account with us. We cannot issue out those banknotes unless or until we process them again. What made us to process is to detect that what we are reissuing to the economy is free of counterfeit, which is very, very important. Because some of the counterfeiters have gone so advanced that they imitate our notes. What is making it difficult for sometimes for them is, in production of banknotes, we have levels of security. We have the first level security feature, which as individuals we can be able to identify. Then we have the second level by use of ultraviolet light. Then we have the third level. The third level, that one is reserved for central bank. We can only use that using our high-speed processing machines. Then we have disposal. All the banknotes that we received and processed with the aim of reissuing those that are fit, and those that are not fit, we destroy them. We destroy them using some of the equipment that we have in our various disposal locations. The aim of processing banknotes is to enable us achieve our clean-up policy, because we have a policy that states the quality of the banknotes. We want clean notes and fit notes to be in circulation. Then, while doing that business, we have some issues, as we have policies guiding some of these activities that we do. We have manuals. So from time to time, we review some of these manuals to address the present or current realities. Before now, we have a policy whereby all deposits received into our vaults and stayed unprocessed for a period onward of 2 years, we call that deposit as time expired. What we mean by time expired is, in case at the point of processing shortages were discovered, either direct shortage or as a result of counterfeit notes, the depositing bank will not take any liability. So CBN will absorb the liability, that of the shortage. But effective 16th October 2015, that policy was abolished. So even if, and we don't expect, our target is that all deposit money banks should not stay more than 2 months in our vaults, unprocessed. Then the issue of mutilated notes. The manual guiding mutilated and counterfeit notes was reviewed in 2015. This was as a result of some of the happenings or trends observed, where we noticed the frequency of counterfeit notes sent to us, because we cannot just declare a note to be counterfeit until it was confirmed by NSPM, because they are the prime printers of these banknotes. So whatever we received, we sent to them for adjudication, and they confirm to us whether they are genuine or not. But the trend is we are receiving so much of these notes, and the confirmation we received were they were counterfeit. So also with mutilated notes. In some cases, we observed deliberate cutting of the banknotes to make them mutilated. Yes. Currently, there is a case in court in Kano, which has been on for the past 1 year or 1.5 years or so. I think the busy Kano is here. So we have such cases. So that made us to review the manual to address some of these challenges. Then we also try to improve on the collaboration we have with the law enforcement agencies, because it is an offense to have counterfeit. But for CBN, we cannot prosecute. It's the law enforcement agencies that prosecute. So we are in constant contact with them, and there is even a standing committee established between Central Bank and the law enforcement agencies in order to implement this. Then some of the contemporary challenges we have are mainly to do with the deposit money banks. And I don't know whether they are here, which has to do with shortages discovered in the deposits, the use of unlicensed CIT and sorting companies, and the circulation of dirty notes. We discovered the deposit money banks, they don't come to us for deposits as they used to, which resulted in recirculation or the over-circulation of dirty notes within the economy. So the way forward, the bank, in collaboration with the deposit money banks, the sorting companies, had adopted a fitness standard on the banknotes. So we expect strict adherence of these fitness standards. The implementation of the Nigerian cash management scheme is ongoing, and a progress has been made, and I think that the committee that is handling this has even started implementing some of the resolutions of the committee. The DNBs are encouraged to provide Naira campaign handbills in their banking halls. Need for DNBs to discontinue the use of contracts. That's for DNBs. To ensure good denomination mix of the banknotes when making payment to customers and so on. Most of these are issues that relate with the DNBs. Then in conclusion, the paper focused on currency management issues and the impact on the bank's ability to provide clean notes in the economy. You know, when we have these notes, bank notes in the economy, the bank spends a lot of money. When I mean the bank, I mean the banks, the CBN plus deposit money banks. They spend about over 100 billion naira to manage cash. So that one is a very serious issue, and the bank is looking for the way through which this amount will be reduced. So with these alternative means of payment, the like the mobile banking, the internet banking, such applications will be able to reduce the use of cash, which invariably will have impact positive on the amount of money being spent in handling cash. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bala Tijani. For those of you esteemed customers, those of you that would like to ask questions, kindly indicate by raising your hands, and I will bring the microphone. We'll take maybe maximum of 5 questions in the first instance, and if there's time, we'll take more questions.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Ibrahim Haruna from Hassan Usman Katsina Polytechnic. I'm the auditor, Staff Association of Nigerian Polytechnics. Mine is a question and a plea. The first one is I want to lead with the CBN or to ask, please, what assistance can the CBN give to academic and non-academic staff who got sponsorship to study abroad or attend conferences with regard to this thing, exchange rate? Number 2, how can a person benefit from CBN intervention, especially the MES? And they say they are making this thing, inspections. During the inspection, if one is running at loss, what, how can the CBN tackle such issue? Sorry, it seems to be asking too much, but I'm sorry, please. The introduction, I want to advise also CBN to reintroduce the use of coins, because when you go to banks, sometimes when you went to collect payments, if there is coin inside, you have to forfeit it. You don't. There's no way you can get it. The use of Coleman, or is it Coleman or what? Not. I think I am advising CBN to look into it, because such notes doesn't last. The paper notes are better than the Coleman. And on the issue of clean note policy, I advise CBN to request or to find way of making people know the importance of their banknotes by using wallets. If you go to let's say our neighboring country here, Niger, most of their currency, most of their people, even the village people, you find them using wallet. They don't mutilate their notes. But here in Nigeria, the mechanics, the village butchers and so on mutilate our money the way they like. Sorry, let me not talk too much. Let me stop at this point. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Adamu Sokoto. The CBN said that they lies with the security to discourage sale of note. I don't know how they, because in most times you see the people that sell this new note are always close to the CBN branch, in the state branch, and at the same time you never see any of these people being disturbed by any of the security. They do their business freely. So if truly they link with the security to check this black market business, they need to find out if truly the security work on this angle. And also the environmental friendly note they are talking about is, I think there is need for serious sensitization and enlightenment. As just one of my colleagues here said, that in some other neighbors countries, they use wallet because there is enlightenment. And
a question to the issue of credit facilities to business ventures. she didn't explain which of the banks will somebody approach if he's looking for this type of facilities. Thank you.
My name is Ahmed Alaj. I'm the Treasurer, Senior Staff Union of Colleges of Education, FC Katsina branch. My question is this. Is it the third presenter mentioned something like counterfeit, issuance of counterfeit notes?
This was a friend. He collected something not up to now 900,000. But at the end of the day, when we calculated the amount he has been paying to the bank, the interest is almost about 500,000. Just imagine it. So central bank has to do something serious about this. The kind of loan facilities they are issuing is not meant for somebody to engage in business and make profits. Then secondly is about the first presenter, I think, when he's talking about okay, it's still about the second presenter, about agriculture. Central bank as a bank which is charged with responsibilities of coming up with initiatives that will bring about economic development, is a known fact that agric is playing a very key role in the economy of our country. And the way I'm looking at it is the sector needs a total institutional transformation. In the sense that, you see, now that people are going back to farm, there are a lot of challenges that government don't seem to even care about it. Number one, what happens to the price control? Most of the people that are benefiting from this agriculture are those that have their money during harvest period. You just come, the price will come down very low. They will use their money to buy, they will hold it, and they will sell it and make profits. Secondly, how can the sector be mechanized? Most of the people that are engaged, the highest percentage of people that engage in agricultural activities, in fact, extension service in agriculture today in Nigeria is almost dead. Our farmers are prone, our farming system is prone to, some natural challenges. Like, for example, when there is a low rainfall.
Mine is to address some issues. I'm Agada Bechi. I'm the issue of EPIs. One, we have some challenges like those on contract, people going on sabbatical, which is peculiar to tertiary institutions, and then remitting money for check-off dues, and then cooperative societies. So one, is there a template? Are they working out any template to look at, to create columns for cooperative societies within tertiary institutions, and then the other areas that I said are peculiar to tertiary institutions?
Mr. Chairman, sir, we have 5 questions.
Okay, let's quickly address him because it's already 4:15. Question even before we left for lunch. I want to start from there. Yes, on the issue of inflation and what is the CBN doing to reduce it. In my lecture in the morning, we discussed that, and we have shown you that inflation is actually trending down, from almost 18.89 in the first quarter of this year. We're not talking about 16.2. And like I said, you see, inflation is not something that will just drop suddenly, because there are many fundamentals that are part of the inflation management. Even the basket itself, the index, we take into account almost 2,500 items when we are calculating the inflation. And I also told you that we have headline food inflation and consumer price core inflation. So it's quite possible you will see one or two items that are even going up. Then we come and tell you that inflation is going down. Then you say we are not saying the truth. No. If you look at one or two items, they may be trending up. But when you look at the composite of 2,500 items, the whole composite may be trending down, isn't it? So that is why sometimes when we say inflation is going down, don't look at one or two items that you know, that you buy. Again, central bank is doing quite a lot. What you do to beat inflation, first of all, is to make sure that too much money is not chasing too few commodities. That's number one. Too much money chasing too few commodities. That means people can offer more and more money. If you go to Zimbabwe or Somalia, you know, if you want to change $100, you go with wheelbarrow. The local currency they will give you. In fact, in Zimbabwe now, they use dollar. They use American dollar. Even in Somalia. Yes, because the local currency has become so bastardized. If you want to buy a loaf of bread, you have to go with a bag of maybe 100,000, 200,000 Zimbabwean pound just to buy a loaf of bread. You know, because at one time, the government kept on printing money. Kept on printing money. You have not paid teachers. Print money, pay them. We have not paid salary. Print money, pay them. You know, there is no correlation between production and money in circulation. So that's one of the first things we do in central bank. Every year we do what is called indent. And that indent calculates the currency reasonably supposed to be in circulation to support the productive base of the economy. Because if you just print money, and money comes out, it will debase the currency. You find people getting more and more money, but they cannot do what they were doing 3-4 years ago. So that's one aspect of it, and we do that very well. And the second one is the exchange rate management, because we realize that 80-90% of the cost of inflation in Nigeria is, you know, imported inflation. Imported inflation in the sense that if the exchange rate is very high, ultimately what is going to be produced will be high. So we try to manage the exchange rate to bring it to a reasonable level. Then the third thing we do is to encourage more production by encouraging linkages within the economic activities in the country and being a catalyst for growth. You will understand that recently CBN has agreed to take up the funding gap. CN. I'm sure you have read it in the papers. Because if you look at the power supply chain, there are many gaps. The generating companies are there. Do you know that we lose about 40% of the power we generate because the transmission lines are old and archaic? So CBN can go into such kind of things to make sure that the productive base goes up. Because if the energy is improved, a lot of production, you know, can go on. So these are some of the things that CBN does in terms of trying to tame the monster called inflation. Then you say we should assist NGOs. Well, I've been assisting NGOs. I don't know, maybe your definition of NGO. Even cooperative societies are NGOs. You know, it depends on the peculiar thing that NGO wants to do or is doing. But we have largely been assisting NGOs through our agri lending programs and the rest. You know, what is important is that for the NGOs to really understand what we are doing and to key in. But there are certain things we certainly cannot do. Because don't forget, central bank has a mandate. We are a creation of the law. And that law tells us exactly those things that we are supposed to be doing. And we always report to the National Assembly and to the presidency. And you can be asked, is this part of the mandate you are supposed to do? And this helps me answer some of the questions, especially although we'll come to that, assistance to academic and non-academic staff to get preferential exchange rate. One of the greatest things, or one of the greatest problems, is that if you are approaching a market-based economy, everybody is equal. It is the market that should determine the efficiency. If you start giving preferential treatment, you are distorting the efficiency of the market. So if non-academic staff believe that they should get preferential treatment, academic staff believe that they should get preferential treatment, market women will come and say, we all too should get preferential treatment. Then at the end of the day, you don't know what you are managing. So what we do is that try to make the economy efficient. Because in a capitalist economy, the resource allocation is central to any economy. The whole purpose of economics is to decide on resource allocation. The communist countries say, no, resource allocation should be centralized. You produce, and the central economy will decide how it is going to be distributed, and will decide what to produce, and will decide who to consume. That is what you have at the left hand side, the extreme left. That's the communist economy. While at the extreme right, the capitalist economy say, no, let the market decide what to produce. Let the market decide who should consume it. Let the market decide how you should consume it. If you produce a product, you go to the market and keep it there. For 3 days, nobody buys it. Will you produce it tomorrow? You know? So, and the capitalist economy says market efficiency is better achieved when you allow the individual producer and consumer takes his own decision. By the time you have millions and millions of individual consumers and producers taking decision, you will have an aggregate decision that guides the market. That's pure capitalism. But governments come in because you want to guide that market. We want to guide that market. For instance, it took United Kingdom almost 400 years to develop. And we now come and say, as Nigerians, we are not going to wait for 400 years to develop. Therefore, let us do development economics. Let us read what they did and what they didn't do, and compress their 400 years to 40 years. So the government must come in and guide that market, even if it is a capitalist economy. And that's exactly what we are doing. We are trying to guide the market, but we cannot just go back to administrative control to say that you, academic staff, get this, you get this, you get that. No. I hope we are clear. So these are some of the things. Then the issue of reintroduce coins. Coins is there. It's only that the populace, the banks, everybody don't want to use coins. But coins are there. They are still legal tender as far as central bank is concerned. As far as central bank is concerned, they are still legal tender. And even if banks come today to our treasury and they want to withdraw coins, we will give them. It's just a cultural thing. It's just a bias that generally we have against coins. Then polymer is not good as paper notes. Yes, depends on how you look at it. The decision by central bank to go into polymer is born out of a simple decision that polymer lasts longer and lower denominations are handled by so many people. When we issue 50 naira note new, it gets torn and mutilated within 6 months if it is paper. But polymer can last 2 years. Because polymer, even if you pour oil on it, you just shake it and that's all. You continue going. If you go to the market and see how our market women handle money, I like what the man said Niger people do. You will give maybe a butcher money. His pocket is right in front here. You just grab it, squeeze it, and just push it inside. So before you know it, the notes get bad. Yes, and there is a cost to printing. You don't just go and pick it. There is a cost to printing new currency. Every year, central bank spends a lot of money. You see the production cycle. To print, to distribute, we use planes, we use vehicles to distribute to all parts of the country, and then to store. As you are standing here, our treasury is down there. You know, and there is cost attached to it. But the long and short of it is that culturally we are still cash-dominated economy. We love holding cash. That's the long and short of it. We love holding cash. Otherwise, you know, if we move towards cashless, somebody is paid salary for the whole month. That is his salary. Wallahi, he will not believe the bank. He will go to the ATM and withdraw the whole salary that day. Even if it will take him 3 weeks to spend it. It's as if he believes that if he doesn't withdraw it that day, you know, so we have to wean ourselves from some of such cultures, because almost 98%, sorry, not 98, 88%, 87% retail electronic transaction is just about 13% in Nigeria. It's just about 13%. Almost 88% of the retail is done in cash. As for the large value, it has to be electronic, the RTGS and the other things he's talking about. But the retail, some of you who go to Cotonou, you see even a Caracela, she has POS. Isn't it? Cotonou, yes. Yes, I'm telling you this. Go to Cotonou market. Almost everywhere you go in that market, they have POS. Unless you don't want to use it. But here, even people when they have POS, they will tell you it's not working. And they will tell you there is charges, that is not working. So these are some of the things with this cash holding and all that. Then sale of notes. I want to tell the person, you are the one who mentioned sale of notes. Did he go to his bank? What did his bank tell him? Yes. Yes. So after he filled the form, they have not done it. He should write to the bank and ask them to acknowledge. His right is complaint that I came here, I filled form, you are yet to refund my money. And then let them stamp they have received it. If he gives them 1 week, they have not, let him go to the nearest CBN branch. Together with that paper they have stamped. And then CBN will take it up from there. There is a complaint resolution mechanism. CBN will now talk on his behalf on that. Yes, we have, one of the problems we have is poor network. So you always have these incomplete transactions because, and that is one of the problems with POS, because POS payment involves two banks. It's not like maybe ATM, you go to your bank, you are banking with UBA, you go to UBA ATM. If they don't pay you, you just walk in there. But most POS payments involve two banks. You are banking with FCMB. Your merchant, the person who is selling the goods to you, is banking with First Bank. So the two banks have to shake hands. They have to take money from your account and drop to that account. So in between, either the messaging system or the applications, they can. And what POS does is, the moment it starts the transaction, the first thing it does is to go and take the money and suspend it. So you don't spend it. So you don't do POS and you run around. Maybe there's an ATM behind. Before you know, you go and withdraw that money. So the first thing the machine does, the system does, is to, suspend, block that money. You know, those of us who worked manual in the banks that time, you remember what we used? Ledger. We write underneath, so that if somebody comes to work on the same balance, he will read that a check has been blocked, a check is coming. So whatever you see as the balance of that man, remove this check. That's the same thing the system. You see, most of these system things, they are just electronic way of doing the manual thing. So these are some of the things. So I urge him, let him go and complain, like I said. Bank loan and interest rate. I think we discussed this thing in the morning. As long as we have two things, we will always have high interest rates in the system. Or three. One, you see, where you have the central rate high, the central rate is the rate that the authorities loan to the banks. The banks cannot loan below that. Have a problem. Again, where you have operational issues, the typical Nigerian bank spends 5% to 6% of its operations in servicing its loans. It was discovered that 30% of the total cost of all banks just go on currency processing. And they don't use currency processing to make money. I hope you understand what I'm saying. If a bank spends 1,000 on its operation every day, 300 of that 1,000 is on currency processing, either counting money, servicing ATM, distributing the money. And that is not the core job where it gets profit. The core job where it gets profit is when it lends money to you. So it has to recoup, you know, from lending to you. It has to recoup from lending to you. So these are part of the operational problems that we have to grapple with. And then the other one which you have is even their deposit base. One of the problems again we have in Nigeria is that 90% of deposits from which banks give us loan is short-term deposit. Is short-term deposit. And in banking, there is what we call refinancing risk. Refinancing risk. I can't you are you give me 10 million naira as deposit. I'm a banker. You give me 10 million naira. If I want to look for somebody I want to loan that money to, I will get somebody who will want to borrow it short, less than 1 year. If I agree with you, I will refund your money in 1 year. If I go and give it to somebody who is going to repay me in 2 years, I will have refinancing risk at the end of the first year. Because you will come looking for your money. Meanwhile, I have not collected it from this man. So I have to go and look for somebody who is ready to deposit 1 million so I can give it to you. I think you understand. So part of the problem is that the structure of even the banking deposit is not long term. So that's why when you go to a bank and you want to borrow long term, you have to be Dangote, with whom they are very, very sure. And that's why you find most of the loans banks give you is always consumer loan. Either you want to buy TV, you want to buy cooker, you want to buy AC, you want to do this, it's always consumer loan. They will not give you a loan of 10 years to build your house unless you go to a specialized bank. So these are some of the institutional problems we have and which we must grapple with and which we are aggressively pursuing. And that's part of why central bank and government sometimes bring out specialized banks. Like on the issue of agriculture, central bank has come up with NISAL. I think the NISAL people are here. Or have they gone? The NISAL people are here. Is an initiative funded by, because like the question I think it was you who asked price control, mechanization, extension services, this and this. These are the problems bedeviling farming. You didn't even mention risk, natural risk and unnatural risk, systemic risk and unsystemic risk. If you have a poor harvest, you have a poor harvest. If you have pest invasion, you have pest invasion. There's nothing you can do about it. We had it early, is it this year or last year, on tomatoes? Last year. And farmers in the north here lost almost over 45 billion. And tomato went through the roof. You know, a basket of tomatoes sold for almost 20,000. So, but part of the problem is that there is no risk-based sharing. There is nobody who is coming in to take that risk. And risk-based sharing is very, very important, so that you protect the farmer, so that you don't flatten him out without capital. Many people lost their capital, especially tomato farmers. In fact, they have courage. That's why they went back. Otherwise, some of them will never plant tomatoes again. So these are some of the institutional issues we have, and central banks always come up with some incentives. But the major issue is that individual farmers should learn to form cooperatives, because institutional groups will work better with cooperatives. You know, and I'm very, very happy. Right from Monday, when we started, I used to hear so many cooperative groups in Katsina that I have not heard of. It's very good. So if these cooperatives are better sensitized and they link with these specialized agencies, they will do quite a lot. And people should be ready to pay the insurance premium. Very, very important. Because sometimes when you tell people that they will pay insurance, they will say no. They will turn back. You know, so these are some of the things that we have to grapple with. And that's why in our presentation on monetary policy, we say, as Nigerians, we also have our role to play. As Nigerians, we also have our role to play. And one of the roles we should play is that we should be, we should regard ourselves as Nigerians, and we should also see how we can assist the government. We should also, when Vietnam set up a strategy to attract foreign tourists into the country, they went and did a lot of sensitization and recruited 1 million tourist police, just tourist police, and sent them to all the tourist centers they know people would like to visit. And they gathered the local populace and they told them that, look, these people who are coming from different countries, they are bringing dollar, so treat them with respect. If you are a tourist in Vietnam, I assure you, if you slap a Vietnamese, he will just bow and thank you and go. Believe me sincerely. And since they started, Vietnam is now raking almost 8 billion, 10 billion naira every day on tourism. The same Americans who fought them are going there in large numbers. Some of them to remember where they fought. Some of them, maybe their fathers have told them, I was in Vietnam and I was in this sector, I went to this place. You hear them asking the tourist police, where is so place? That's why my father fought. Where is so place? You know? So that is what we should be doing. The government and the people should really support each other. And again, central bank cannot do it all alone. We have our mandate. Some of these things you are mentioning is Federal Ministry of Agri. Some of these things you are mentioning is Federal Ministry of Finance. Like the gentleman who spoke about EPs. EPs. It's not our application. There's nothing we can do. EPs is OAGF application, isn't it? OAGF has two applications, GIFMIS and EPs. Only thing we do is that we have a linkage. When they upload, we see it. It comes through the messaging system. We see it and do our part. But at the EP's end and at the GIFMIS end, you know, we can't go there and tell them do it this way or don't do it this way. You know, but what you are saying again is that still the TSA can do it. Still the TSA can do it. If the TSA shakes hands with EPs, it can do it. So first of all, find out between them whether EPs can shake hands with the TSA. Once it shakes hands with the TSA, we can see it in CBN as an instruction from OAGF. Because once we don't see it as an instruction from OAGF, there's nothing we can do. Because we are banks. It's the account holder who will give us instruction. I hope we are clear. Hamisu, do you have anything to say? What of consumer? Dollar how? Where can they?
CBN has a window for pouring payment on behalf of MDA by yourself or remitter. Ask any MDA. We have been doing it for them, but if you want the money to hit the beneficiary, you should send it ahead of the time you want it, because there is a long queue. We are going through automation. When we automate, it will be much, much faster. But for now, we are doing it manually, and there is a lot of requests from all the MDS. Thank you.
Mr. Agada asked that we should advise how they will get cheaper interest rate. Mr. Agada, so you know, our advice here, like the director said, you should always know the anchor rate, the MPR. If you have that, it will give you a negotiating power. Like now, it is 14%. If you apply for a loan in a bank and they give you loan of 25%, you can approach the management of the bank and say, the MPR is 14%. Why 9% spread? You can negotiate. Let them tell you why are they putting the 9%. They should be able to tell you that maybe we are afraid, you are cooperative society, you are collateral, it cannot be easily realizable. So many other things. Then you can be able to give them that comfort. They can even give you MPR plus 2, which is 16%. And it doesn't mean that, you know, the part of the mistake we make, by the time we need that loan, we are desperate. So immediately they give us, we start signing. You can just take your time, go to all the other banks. You can even tell them, the moment you see, say, no. Say, why are you not taking it? You have been pursuing us. Don't worry, I will go to other banks. That alone will make them rethink to bring down the interest rate. There are so many other issues, but I hope you understand something. Thank you.
Hello. The question on the which bank to approach for your intervention facilities. That is why we use the word participating financial institutions. It depends on the facility you are applying for. For a recap, we have Agri Credit Guarantee Scheme Fund. That particular one is at prevailing interest rate, but there is what we call interest rebate. By the time you finish repayment of that one, you are given a rebate of 40% on the interest, invariably reducing the total interest. That one is applicable to most banks. So you can get it from any of the banks, but you have to also liaise with our Development Finance Office in the branch to enlighten you more on a particular bank that is already playing in that space within the state. Then for the other interventions, all the banks are participating, but they have their own. When you can shop around to see the ones that can give you a liberal conditions, because the conditions are precedent within each bank. So you can shop around, negotiate with them, but the interest remains 9% for those other ones that are direct intervention outside the ACGSF. So the banks are there. Somebody also mentioned about guaranteed minimum price. It's a national committee. There's a national committee under the Ministry of Agriculture on guaranteed minimum price. But it's mostly applicable to grains reserve, excess grain when it's available. There's a guaranteed minimum price. But under ABP, which is an Anchor Borrowers Program, prices are agreed upon ab initio on the negotiating table. Prices are agreed upon. So the prices are guaranteed before you start. And if it changes, all the parties comes back to the negotiating table and then re-agree on the new price. That has been the practice. Assuming you agree on 10,000 naira per kg, per ton, and then at the end of the day, the prevailing market price is 14,000 naira. You go back to the negotiating table and the off-taker will agree on that. It's built into the MOU. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think are we through? I hope it's not a question that we are okay. Haja.
Okay, I was going to respond to the question asked by one of our customers here about sale of mint notes close to CBN premises. I think somebody asked that question somewhere around here. Okay. In one of the presentations here, in the presentation by the Currency Operations Department, he did mention that CBN collaborates with security agencies, to address issues of counterfeiting and sale of mint notes. Yes, I just want to say that 2 or 3 days before the last Salah, it did happen in Kano, yes, and they were very close to the CBN office, and when a report came to us that there were some people selling mint notes, we immediately mobilized the security agencies, both uniformed and plainclothes, and we made a raid. And they were immediately taken to the CID office of the Nigerian Police Force, and action was taken. So if CBN gets to know that there are people selling mint notes around, it's an offense. It's an offense, 6 months imprisonment or 50,000 naira fine or both. So if you know of any, please bring it to the attention of the nearest branch controller, and we'll liaise with the security agencies and take immediate action. I hope I've made an attempt at your question. Thank you.
Let me just add something. You see, in the CBN, we don't pay individuals. We only pay banks and MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies of government. We do not pay individuals or commercial enterprises. And when we are paying cash, it is either through the loading bay, when we pay banks, or through our banking office, when we are paying MDAs. Now, if we pay these groups, we don't pursue them to see what they do with the money. Because we pay banks to pay their customers. If we pay a bank 10 million naira or 50 naira notes, and that bank on its own decided to give it to somebody who sells notes, we wouldn't know. There's no one will know. If there's somebody who sells notes and he goes to his bank and say, I want 1 million naira or 50 naira notes, and maybe he's a prime customer to the bank, and the bank manager obliges him, even the bank manager may not know that he's in the business of selling these notes. But like she said, when we come to know, definitely we take action. So number one, these monies that are used to sell to outsiders do not come from CBN, because we don't do currency exchange where you bring higher denomination, we give you lower denomination. No. And we don't pay individual or commercial enterprises. No. We only pay banks and we pay MDAs. But like you say, this is Nigeria. You know, people want to take advantage of situations. No matter what program you bring, there are some people who are looking at it to see how they can benefit. Otherwise, how can you catch one person with 85 ATM cards going to Dubai? Huh? Sorry, 800, I say 85. 800 ATM cards. Huh? That was his only luggage. You know? Because he wants to make use of it and get dollar at official rate, and then carry that dollar and come and sell it at parallel rate. Because there are some banks, they allow you, if you travel abroad, You can use your Naira account, you know, to make withdrawals of $1,000, $1,200. So many of them, what they do is that they gather all these almajiris and they open account for them. And they collect the cards. It's a big business. You will never sit down and think of it. You see, sometimes when they tell you one criminal activity, you will sit down and say, I be mumu. Because you are clean, you will never think that way. You will never think that way. By the time you get somebody who did it and you start asking him, then you will see how he is trying to subvert the system. You know, so some of these things, it's not central bank. But we have to grapple with it. And when people see it, the first conclusion is that they must have gotten it from central bank. Not necessarily. So thank you very much. I hope we have, you still want to say something? Quickly, and this is the last one, please.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Yakub Bala from Hassan Usman Katsina Polytechnic. My question, sir, is on the issue of microfinance bank. Actually, this microfinance bank, I think they are the banks that can improve the economy of the local community. And if you look at me as a layman, and who is there in Katsina, let me cite example of my local government. I'm from Rimi local government. And I look at it at other local government that most of these microfinance banks, they are not vibrant at all. You find that nobody go there to open an account or rather deposit his money because of fear of uncertainty. So in this case, to me, as a layman, I think if CBN can intervene to ensure that these microfinance banks, that civil servants that work with the local government should at least 60% of them open an account with the bank. The moment the businessmen see transaction is taking place in this microfinance bank, you find that they will be patronizing it, and that will boost the economy of the local community. Thank you.
You see, what you have just said is what I explained earlier. You know, you are running a capitalist system. You cannot start dictating to people. You can't dictate. Microfinance banks are not viable. Yes, many of them are not viable. And the simple reason is that they cost it themselves. Because they went out of their ways to compete with commercial banks. They didn't do, because they are supposed to be a niche, you know, they are supposed to be a bank that satisfies a particular window. They are supposed to be retail, you know, financial inclusion banks. But they went out of that way and started aggressively competing with banks, over lending, going into businesses they can't manage, no corporate governance, and all those things. Therefore, there is no way central bank can come and say, how can even central bank say that? Do we pay people salary? If I tell you that you should go and put your money in microfinance bank, what will be your action? You will tell me to get away. Because you don't work for me. Your employer has paid your salary. So I should to go and deposit your money in microfinance banks. The most important thing is microfinance banks should reinvent themselves, should go back to their basic activity, why they were created as microfinance banks in the first place. Secondly, they don't even partner with each other. There is an association of microfinance banks for states and for national level, but they don't really sit down and discuss among themselves and give themselves the kind of advice that they need. So there is no central bank can tell people, state government. How can we even tell state government that you should direct local governments to ask them to open an account with microfinance bank? No. Microfinance banks are not even supposed to service salaried workers. That is one of the reasons why microfinance banks failed, if you want to know. It's one of the reasons, especially in the north central region. microfinance banks opened account for salaried workers and gave them loan. Your salary is maybe 60,000. They give you a loan of 250,000. Then for the next 6 months, they didn't pay your salary. Tell me how that microfinance bank can survive. It will not. And that's exactly what happened. Instead of looking at the retail, ordinary market women who make sales every day, where you are sure money will come in every day, the only microfinance banks that I agree can be microfinance banks and service salaried workers are microfinance banks set up by specialized cooperative societies or unions. If Hassan Usman Katsina Polytechnic decide to open up a microfinance bank, staff of Hassan Usman Katsina Polytechnic decide to open up a microfinance bank, it will be viable because it's targeted at that polytechnic only. I think you understand me. But if now you open a microfinance bank and start collecting accounts of local government workers, and because they have open account, their salary is coming, and you want to give loans to your customers, you start giving them loans. If 2-3 months they don't pay salary, you are already in trouble. And that's exactly what happened. So what you are even advising, you are telling us how to kill microfinance banks. Because in fact, Katsina State is even lucky. There are some states for 10 months. For 10 months, Benue, Plateau, Kogi, Cross River, Bayelsa, Oshun, they didn't pay salary for almost 6 months, 8 months. No, Niger, is Niger among them? I know Katsina, they pay salary regularly. I know Kaduna, they pay salary regularly. And Niger too, they pay salary regularly. But there are some states, 3, 4, 5 months, they don't pay salary. So if you encourage microfinance banks to give loans to those people, you are killing the microfinance banks. So, comrade, I think we have come to the end. So do the closing activities.
Thank you very much, Chairman, sir. We want to thank everybody, all your invited guests, for your time, your perseverance, and very important questions. And we pray that you all go back to your destinations safely. Without wasting time, I will now invite Mr. Nzelu to close the occasion with a prayer.
Shall we pray? Almighty and everlasting Father, we thank thee for being with us throughout this deliberation this morning and this afternoon. We pray that you guide everybody that are here safely back home to meet our loved ones as we left them. All this we ask of thee. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
You are one of a kind. I never seen your type. What must be a brand new species. Brand new